Coming out to your loved ones is without a doubt one of the hardest things you can ever go through. The anxiety, the worry, the fear, what may happen, you just don't know. How are people going to react? Now, let's be honest, in this day and age, it shouldn't really be a thing at all. There should be no need to come out, and people shouldn't have to feel nervous about doing so. However, it's people like this in today's first entitled parent story that make people worried so much. My daughter disowned my grandson. Well, I'm furious. This morning, my 16-year-old grandson showed up at my doorstep with a bag, looking like he just had the stuffing knocked out of him. He lives 2 states away and traveled by bus to get here. Why? Because my daughter decided the best way to handle him coming out to her was to toss him out into the cold. I'm so angry with her that I don't want to type out things that I will one day regret. But Jesus, I thought I raised her better than that. My grandson is currently sleeping in his new bedroom, and I'm at a bit of a loss as to how to proceed from here. The poor child has just had his entire world turned upside down, but what do I say and do to make this right for him? He doesn't want to go back. My daughter, his mum, doesn't want him back. I'm absolutely fine with having him stay with me, but there's a lot that needs doing. More importantly, what channels would I need to go through to make sure my daughter gets her just desserts? I love her, and I'll likely always love her, but I raised them all to be accountable for their actions, and nobody hurts my grandbabies. And then just 2 weeks later, we got this update. My grandson is in therapy and has been enrolled at school. He's been placed in my custody while CPS proceeds. My lawyer is handling all necessary paperwork and believes we have absolutely nothing to worry about. Our caseworker has echoed this. I will not be discussing legal matters further. My daughter is facing criminal charges for her actions. Child abandonment is a very serious crime. Her actions reflect very poorly on her as a whole. Upon realizing that her income was being cut off and that she committed a fair number of crimes, she instantly began to plead that she hadn't meant to, and it had been a heat of the moment decision that she regretted. Considering she's already thrown out all of my grandson's clothing and worldly possessions, this defense did not hold up to scrutiny. My grandson is as well as can be expected. He's made friends in the form of my neighbor's kids. They're around his age. We've redecorated his room, and he had a good time being allowed to pick out his own furniture and paints. He's gotten a PS4, which has become his escape. He personally has made the choice to not join a group, and I won't force him to do so. We're talking about getting a puppy, as he loves dogs, but his mother never allowed him one. And then one final update from a few months later. My grandson is doing well. He's made a few friends in the neighborhood and has bonded with his pup quite nicely. The two are almost inseparable save for when he's in school. He's begun meeting with a counselor that offers online sessions. My daughter has been granted a plea deal which she's accepted to avoid the full extent of what the courts would have otherwise given her. I'm told by my lawyer that this is a common occurrence in such situations in order to expedite proceedings so as to best see to the child's needs. The charges against my daughter were dropped in accordance with the deal, and she's been stripped of her parental rights. Due to much of what came to light during proceedings, a restraining order was granted to keep her away from my grandson until he reaches his majority. We are moving forward with life. Now that court and other proceedings are winding down, I'm once more considering moving. Even with my grandson here, the house is just too big for us, and the weather isn't as kind to my bones as it was when I was younger. My grandson is open to the idea and views it as a fresh start. This situation has allowed me to glean things about my family that I find very useful. The relatives that sided with my daughter and told her it was her right to do as she did as a God-fearing woman have been struck from my phone book. Unfortunately, I count another of my children in this list. Those who took my grandson's side, note it's very much his side and not my side, have shown themselves to be the good people I knew them to be. The wheat has separated itself from the chaff. I do believe this will be my last post here, as there is just not much more to add, but I just wanted this lovely community to know that we will be okay. Wow, I cannot believe what I've just read. You know what is so baffling to me? The difference in generations. You've gone from OP, the grandmother, who is so open and is so supportive of her grandson. Then her daughter, the kid's mother, who is the complete opposite. And then, of course, the son himself, who has come out and had to deal with this rubbish. I mean, fair play to you, OP, for being so good and supportive, because imagine if you weren't in the picture and this kid was just having to deal with his mum, who was literally abandoned him and disowned him. I just can't believe that. For his own sexuality. In 2022. Well, this happened in 2019, but you know what I mean. Hopefully, with grandma, with therapy, with general life support from good people, this kid will be alright. It sounds like it's on the way back, but wow, what an ordeal to have to go through and then get disowned by your own mother. Now, before we get into our next story, I have a very special announcement for you. After an insane amount of demand from you guys, I'm delighted to say that I've released some limited edition Not Today Karen merch. Picture this, you're out and about in the streets and a wild Karen appears and starts confronting you. What do? Well, normally you have to talk to a witch like this. However, get one of these t-shirts or hoodies on, and all you have to do is simply point to it, laugh, and walk away, How easy is that? The link is down in the description if you like what you see. Go ahead, check the stuff out. I think they'd make a great Christmas present or even just a little gift for yourself. As always, it's official stuff from the very best supplier, so the quality is unmatched, and it's one of the best ways to support me and the channel. With that being said, let's carry on. I regret leaving my wife for my girlfriend. I don't know if I have the right to ask her to take me back. My wife and I separated 1.5 years ago. Before that, we were together for 15 years. 15 happy years. We have 2 daughters together, 14 and 12. The last 2 years of our marriage, I thought that we've achieved all that we could achieve. Nothing changed, and we knew each other by heart. The pandemic years were hard on me mentally, being stuck at home 24/7. I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was stagnating and out of love with my wife, and that being home made me realize that instead of the truth that I was actually depressed because of being home all the time, albeit with her. When I went back to the office after 2 years, I thought my change of humor to the positive was because I wasn't with her, instead of the fact that I could actually get out again. I met Anna, a 32-year-old. She was one of the new people that we hired. Anna is free and happy, social and high-spirited. She took the office by storm. She was the opposite of my shy and calm wife. I remember when I first met my wife. I was the one who asked her out, and the first 2 years into our relationship, she confessed to me that she had liked me for at least a year before I asked her out. With Anna, she was honest and verbal about how she had a crush on me, like an open book. She proposed to me. I told her that I was married, and she said that we only lived once, and that she just wanted to tell me how she felt, no matter if I reciprocated or not. I felt strongly for her. I confessed to my wife that I was out of love with her. She asked me if there was someone else, and I said yes. That was enough for her not to try to dissuade me. I know that she was hurt and suffering in secret, and I never tried to console her because I didn't want her to know that I knew how much she was hurting. Her pride has always been her dearest possession. I moved out a week later, to Anna. I thought that I was going to be over the moon now, but there was something missing, even when I felt happy. I thought it was me missing my children and my home. I was used to being with my daughters every day, and now I see them only half the time. I thought it was my daughters crying and not speaking to me that hurt me. I thought it was the disappointment in their eyes that disturbed my sleep at night. My wife was my rock, even in separation. She made sure that the girls didn't refuse to see me. She kept my image whole and always spoke to them about how I loved them and how good of a father I was. I knew she was hurting and I could see her missing me, but she never once lost her dignity. It was around Christmas when it hit me how much I really lost. Anna had surprised me with a trip to a warm destination because I was feeling down that this would be the first time I wouldn't celebrate with my daughters, who chose their mother. Anna always understood that my blueness was because I missed my girls all the time, and she tried everything to cheer me up. The night before we took our trip, I dropped by my wife to leave my daughter's presents. My wife opened the door and she just looked so serene. I lost my balance on an ice patch and she just said oops and ran towards me to help with the gifts. I caught a whiff of her smell and that was when it all hit me. I did miss my children and my home and my stability, but most of all, I just missed my wife. I missed her warmth, her voice, her calmness, her wit, and most of all her smell when I buried my face in her hair and neck on Saturdays when we could sleep in. I knew that I never really stopped loving her. She wasn't the reason I went through a dark period. She was the only light that pushed me forward. I've always missed her. I've tried to explain it away because I have this new brilliant girlfriend who is so different, who's teaching me how to be excited again. But every time, my wife's face is the first thing I thought of when I woke up in the morning and looked at the person next to me. And every time Anna kissed me and I closed my eyes to try and imagine my wife's smell, I pushed these thoughts away because I thought of how miserable my life had been during these pandemic years. My wife was putting up the Christmas tree and I asked her if I could stay for a beer, and she said yes. I started crying in our kitchen, and when she asked, I told her that I was missing the girls and how strange it was not to celebrate with them. She comforted me and told me that everything would be okay and to have a nice trip. Change is never easy, even if we wanted it. Now, another Christmas is approaching. Anna has booked a new adventure for Christmas, and I didn't even protest. For the last year, picking the children up or dropping them off has been what I look forward to, just to see my wife's face. I've noticed how she has become happier and more in terms with the changes, and I envy her. I wish I could just tell her how I feel, but I don't want to disturb her healing when she's come so far. I love her like I never loved her before, but I don't deserve a moment more of her life after what I did. And then, just one day later, we got this update. I have now broken up with Anna. I feel such a weight lifting. Maybe it's not a nice thing to do, breaking up with someone before the holidays, but I needed this for my own sake, but even for Anna. She doesn't deserve my resentment towards her, since I'm the only one to blame for breaking up my marriage. But I can't help but resent her. I can't help but think that I don't want someone like her around my daughters. I hope she'll be fine, and I wish her luck. I'm not going to bother my wife. I probably need to be alone while trying to sort out my feelings and mental issues. I'm just hoping this would make my girls accept me and my home as their second. All right, there we go. A little bit of a sob story posted to true off my chest. Do we feel bad for this bloke? Get your comments in down below. I, for one, do not, unfortunately. I mean, look, I do a little bit because it's a bit of a tough situation for him, but all this happened because of you, my friend. Sorry. No wonder she's so serene right now, your ex-wife. She's probably at peace with the fact that now she can be with somebody eventually that actually loves her and wants to stay with her for her life, rather than you that when the going gets a little bit tough, you're like, a little young, more exciting thing at work. I'm off skis and I'm gonna ruin my life with my family and my daughters just for this person. Maybe that's a little bit too harsh, but come on. Like, giving up this quickly on a marriage just because you were depressed during the pandemic, like, the majority of people haven't done that, for example. A lot of people felt very down in the pandemic. Didn't mean they left their spouses though, did it? Come on. The comments on Reddit are kind of agreeing with me here. A lot of them are very harsh, more harsh than what I'm saying, just saying it is completely this guy's fault and he's an idiot for this. But others are saying that he needs some form of psychological help, because if he's always going to say and feel that the grass is greener somewhere else with a, different woman, then he's never really going to get happiness, is he? And ultimately, nobody ever wants to feel like that, despite it being his own actions. Everyone wants to eventually, be serene and be happy and find comfort in your life. So I don't think it's what he wants to do necessarily, but maybe it's just a personality trait. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but he does need to sort himself out and he is aware of that. Now, I just want to include one more comment that OP made right at the bottom of this post. I heard about Reddit on a podcast. I thought the quality would be better than this, but I made good connections with some people who have had or had battled depression, so I'm taking this with a grain of salt, and I'm grateful for those who listen to me. Pretty much what happened is he was getting called out in the comments for being an idiot, and he was like, no, it's not my fault. Why are my comments being deleted by mods as well when I'm just saying ridiculous things? All in all, I don't know if this guy realizes that he was the problem the entire way through. Bit of a sob story. I don't have a violin small enough for this one. Am I the jerk for telling my now ex-friend that she shouldn't be proud of being overweight? My friend Tara has always been a little overweight, and in the past she couldn't accept it. She tried so many diets, but nothing lasted more than a few weeks, as, quote, my love for food is so strong. A few years ago, she met a guy, and that was the hint she needed to get serious help from a professional doctor and to start exercising. I need to say, she looked stunning after a few months and was able to catch the guy. Let's say that the pandemic got the best of them, and after 3 long years of a relationship, he dumped her. She was devastated at the beginning. She regained almost all the weight that she'd lost previously, but after some time, me and other friends managed to make her standing again. She came back to hang out with us, and she flirted with some guys, nothing serious. In the meantime, another girl joined our group. Let's call her Maya. Maya is the kind of girl that's naturally fit and doesn't need exercising at all. And that's something Tara couldn't accept. She began teasing her all the time, saying things like, hey, don't hug her too tight, you might break her. How can you manage to have sex? A boy could crush you. I'm glad I gained my weight back because I used to look like you. Or even, at least have some meat they can grab. If a boy grabbed you, where would he put his hands? On your collarbones? Maya always tried to laugh it off as she was the new girl, but I could see her not being comfortable at all. Last night, after the umpteenth comment, I blurted at least she can fit in a pair of jeans. Tara suddenly fell silent as the rest of the group turned their heads on me. And I continued. You shouldn't body shame someone over jealousy, and you shouldn't be proud of being overweight either. You know that doesn't help your medical conditions. Tara stormed away, and a few girls followed her to check on her. Everyone called me a jerk, saying that I shouldn't make fun of her for being overweight, nor should I bring up her medical conditions in front of someone that doesn't know her that much, Maya. I told them that it's hypocritical that they would scold me about saying that, something that's at least true, but wouldn't say a thing to Tara as she was body shaming Maya. So, am I the jerk? Now, before we tackle that question, first of all, OP's left a bit more information in this comment. Just so you guys know, I've talked so much about weight since that's the topic of this post. I had to explain the situation before telling the story, and I had to let you have a chance to understand why Tara was acting like that. In daily life, I do not concentrate on someone else's weight like this. To be honest, I don't care if you're fat or thin or half-half, as long as you're not a jerk. I did make some other comments to Tara before snapping, but they were too light to make her listen to me. Low blow, Tara stop it, you're taking it too far, etc. Speaking about Maya, she thanked me a lot after the infamous dinner, as the whole time she didn't know how to answer to that comment because she felt like everyone would have judged her. She also felt like everyone was enabling Tara to say and do anything she wanted just because she would play the victim card whenever she needed to, and was then sure she would have been excluded by the group if she stood her ground. Also, it seems like Maya had spoken to some other girls from the group about the situation, but they all answered things like, it's Tara, she's like that. Don't worry, at some point she'll get tired of it. And my favourite, well, if we told her to stop, it might hurt her feelings. She's so fragile. Alright, so far I think it's pretty obvious that OP is not the jerk, but there is another update. This was added just a few days later. Tonight, I went to dinner at one of my friends' houses. Tara and Maya were there too. I knew that, and that's partially why I wrote the first post. As I arrived, I took Tara and went into a separate room with her. I told her I was sorry for what I said, but that I talked out of frustration. I also told her that I think her bullying Maya all the time is not cool at all and that she should apologize. She nodded and said that she totally understood my point of view, but she wasn't going to apologize because this wasn't the occasion. Everything seemed fine between us, even though I wasn't totally happy with her answer, and we went back to the others. Now, literally 20 minutes ago, we had dessert. Do you see where I'm going? As I was eating the first bite of my cake, Tara announced, "As OP thinks that I'm fat, I decided to go on a diet, so I'm not having it." I almost choked. Everyone laughed out of embarrassment, not knowing exactly what to do or say. Then Maya turned to her and said, "Well, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard you say." I'm writing this from the passenger seat of Maya's car. We both left the house because there's been a huge fuss after Maya's comment, and I finally realized that you don't have to hang out with people that you don't like anymore just because you were friends in high school. So thanks, Reddit. Wow, not gonna lie, I did not expect the story to end like that. It feels to me as if you've gotten rid of some old friends who aren't really your mates at all, and just gained a new one for life in Maya. Good stuff. The whole story is pretty nuts. I do agree. Obviously, body shaming is not the one. And you can't have it both ways. Like, yeah, if you've got someone that's overweight and someone that's underweight, or maybe not even underweight, just in good shape, it's not right for one of them to body shame the other and then say, "Oh no, but you can't body shame me back because I'm too fragile." Like, come on. Realistically, if you're going to give it, you've got to be able to take it. Ideally, it wouldn't happen at all, but it does happen. Let's be honest. If you're going to give it, you've got to be able to take it at the other end. Now, the celebrating being overweight or, being happy that you are overweight is a weird one. It's the same sort of thing, right, with these overweight models now. What do you reckon, guys? Get in the comments. It's a very contentious one. I'm not entirely sure where I stand on it. I do think that fitness and health and wellness are extremely important things, and maybe there is an argument to say that people that are overweight and are celebrated for it is a bad thing, because there's no doubt that there are health implications to being overweight. Or could you argue that people are overweight just generally, and therefore why punish them for that by not representing them in modern culture? I don't know. It's a tough one. What do you think? The one thing that I will say is that it's definitely toxic for your friends to enable Tara in this way to bully someone about their weight, but then not allow it the other way. I mean, look, it shouldn't happen at all, and Tara should have realized pretty quickly that what she was doing was bullying. Simple as that.